In this segment, I'm going to discuss how you can get accepted into Medigap without medical underwriting, otherwise known as medical questions. My name's J.O. I'm the author of Maximize Your Medicare, published by Allworth Press in 2020, the official website for the book, www.maximizeyourmedicare.com. When you turn 65 or when you start your enrollment or coverage under Medicare, then you do have exceptionally good rights and options. This is a very vital time. This document sitting on your screen is called Choosing a Medigap Policy, Medicare Supplement, Medicare Supplemental, 3 words that all mean the same thing. Now, this document is correct. It's also not complete, is the reality. And here are the subtle differences. So I'm going to actually be describing 3 different ways that you can enroll in Medigap without underwriting questions. The first one is commonly known. This is called the Medigap Open Enrollment Period. It is the time that you are at least 65, and it lasts for 6 months beginning on the date that your Part B coverage begins. So, let's just say you were born in March 1956. That means your Medigap Open Enrollment Period starts in March and lasts for 6 months. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Through the end of August, you can have your effective date at any point in time during that 6 months. Now, a couple caveats here. You need to be 65, meaning that if your coverage under Medicare is beginning as a result of the fact that you have ALS, if you have ESRD, if you receive SSDI for 24 months, and therefore your coverage under Medicare begins prior to 65, this Medigap Open Enrollment Period does not apply to you. Does not apply to you. Okay? It's only for those 65 or older, and Part B is just beginning. It's important because in this day and age, with people working beyond 65, you could be 67, you've not enrolled in Part B. It doesn't matter. It's still okay. When your coverage begins under Medicare Part B, the Medigap Open Enrollment Period begins. This is the most commonly used window. Note that for this person of the example, March, April, May, June, July, August, if you try to enroll in Medigap in October, this window is closed, meaning the sellers, insurance companies, have the right to ask you underwriting questions. That's the Medigap Open Enrollment Period. The second time frame in which you can enroll in a Medigap policy without underwriting question is called guaranteed issue. Now, it's here on page 21 of Choosing a Medigap Policy, and you can see I've highlighted here, guaranteed issue. Now, no one's asking me. I would have made these capital G and capital I, because this is a very specific term. In other words, you'll see it, you'll hear it in my other videos, you'll see it when I've presented in public. I'm speaking carefully with very specific language, because what ends up happening is people throw around the terms too loosely. And in this usage of language, what happens is people misunderstand your actual rights and options. So you can see you as the consumer, yeah, I heard this term in this way, and then you had one thought about what your rights and options are. Well, actually and it may have been the communicator has actually used the term wrongly. We have this a lot. You can look at almost all of my videos. I'm telling people health insurance is not health care. I get criticized for it, but there's a reason. And the reason for me being this specific is because the differences in your rights and options are very subtly, but importantly, different. Guaranteed issue is the second big category. So you don't qualify under Medigap Open Enrollment. This second category is a list of different situations that is established by the CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Again, this is a federally codified list. And here is the list here, and we're not going to discuss every last one of them. Okay, these are in the consumer's favor. Make no mistake, they are not restraints. They are additional ways in to Medigap policies. Easiest one, for example, is if you're covered by a retiree benefits plan and that ends, you have guaranteed issue. And you can understand this. This is happening on a nationwide basis. I very much suspect that retiree benefits will continue to weaken, if not be eliminated. That's just the fiscal and financial reality. Don't ask me to adjudicate whether or not this is fair. That's a place for a different partisan or political agenda and different, YouTube channel. Anyway, here it is here, and this is a long list. And the point is that there are special enrollment periods which allow additional rights to consumers. But you must understand, this is the second category because I'm going to create a third category as mentioned in Maximize Your Medicare. There's a third category of ways that people can get accepted into Medigap. Now, in Maximize Your Medicare, I actually call this guaranteed acceptance. And now you can understand why I'm speaking so carefully, right? There's Medigap Open Enrollment Period. There's guaranteed issue. These two are mandated and enforced by the federal government. The third category, however, is not by the federal government. And there are subtle differences, important ones, and frequently misunderstood. Guaranteed acceptance is what I would call additional rights which are granted to you either by your state or by the carrier. Let's just take a quick example. This is a document from the state of Colorado. They have created another special enrollment period in 2021, as you can see, as I've highlighted here. Under this particular situation, they're allowing people to change from Medigap Plan C, F, and high deductible F into another Medigap plan without medical underwriting. And you can see it here, and without reading every last detail, you can see it here that they're who are currently enrolled in a Medicare Supplement Plan C, F, high deductible F, special enrollment period. There's no requirement to utilize this special enrollment period. It begins on January 1st, ends on June 30th. Now, this isn't for Colorado people only. There are other states that have other expanded sets of paths into Medigap acceptance. For example, the state of New York, they always have Medigap Open Enrollment. Always. In California, there's something called the birthday rule, which means you get to switch amongst Medigap plans once a year around your birthday. Missouri has something called the anniversary rule, and on we go. In other words, this third category is what I call in Maximize Your Medicare something called guaranteed acceptance. And again, rather than getting deep into every single state's situation, it's important to understand the idea. That's really what's important here. And the idea here is that these are also additional rights that can benefit the consumer. And you knew that the word but was coming up, and here it is. But, as in this case under Colorado, you can see that there are other stipulations. There are other restrictions, meaning you can see here, this special enrollment period ends. Now, the reality is that certain states have these extra rights and options, but it's not codified by the federal government, meaning that is there anything to stop the state of X, whatever that state is, to changing the rules and not necessarily in your favor? No. There's nothing to stop that, right? A legislative change can occur. In addition to that, the carriers can also and do offer other paths into acceptance into Medigap, which are on top of the Medigap Open Enrollment Period and Guaranteed Issue. And that's why I created this third category called Guaranteed Acceptance. Now, it's very, very important. There's a reason, there are limits to the book. There's a limit to every book, right? The book tells you a lot about how you can enroll. It tells you about what your deadlines are. It tells you about the different rights and options you have. However, the part here is getting to your specific situation in your particular location, however, is beyond the scope of any book. And for that, you'll need specific guidance. That's what I always suggest. Meaning I can bring you right up to the line. I can't bring you all the way across the line. For that, you'd have to call. Now, back to the principle, which is guaranteed acceptance, which is that these are additional rights and options for persons who don't fit under Medigap Open Enrollment Period or the Guaranteed Issue. There can be situations where you can still get into Medigap above and beyond, as long as you understand that this is a third category which is not one of the first two. And now you can probably hear the punchline about why I'm speaking this specifically and creating a special category. And the reason is unfortunately I have to report to you the following, which is the persons that you may be listening to, your friend, a volunteer, another agent, if they're not using these terms this specifically, and they tell you once, you go away and you come back to them 2 months later, under the particular idea, if you've been relying on guaranteed acceptance as your possible path into Medigap, as in the state of Colorado, that could have, the expiry date may have passed. The carrier could have changed their policy, their business policy, right? Because what was guaranteed acceptance, this third category, I did not say that the federal government makes the carrier stick to that third standard forever. I didn't say that. There's a reason I didn't say that, because I don't mean that, right? Which is, you can understand what happens is, yes, it's my job generally. Somebody comes to me and category 1 doesn't work. Category 2 doesn't work. Category 3, I've got to do some work. And I go and discover the fact that guaranteed acceptance is a very good path. And if that's what my client wants, that's what they get. I run a grocery store or a 7-Eleven over here, right? You want Big Red, you get Big Red if I can find the rule under one of these 3 categories to get you accepted into Medigap. But it is important, right? In other words, it is important to distinguish which one of these 3 applies to you so that you don't have the misunderstanding so that you don't have a problem in understanding what path you're actually using. Because the first two that I mentioned, Medigap Open Enrollment Period, Guaranteed Issue, there's no changing those under the way that Medicare currently works, right? It would take something very fundamental for them to change, right? But the reality is no carrier is going to violate your rights under those first two categories. However, this third category, which can be the state, which can be the carrier's discretion, right? If you understand the third category to be the same as the first two categories, you could create a problem for yourself and then not get into Medigap under a guaranteed acceptance rule. And then you see the problems. Okay, so those are the three categories. Hopefully you've gotten something from this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video. It does help other people discover these special rights and options under Medicare. I don't want to be discouraging. These rights and options are in the consumer's favor as long as you understand how they work. I'm Jay. I'm the author of Maximize Your Medicare. Thanks for watching.